right there. All right, y'all. Let's get to talking. Making case for your lawyer dreams. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Let's make that boom. Pin it. What is going on, y'all? How y'all doing today? Hope you guys are doing well. I want to tell you guys thank you so much for joining us for Making the Case. It's our little Instagram series where we have lawyers, judges, attorneys, law students, change makers, agents on to be able to share their stories to help you inspire to learn how to navigate your own path. On today's show, we have a lot of things, exciting things ready for you. So thank you, Sidekick 84. Thank you, Akamon. Thank you, On Air Nichelle. We're going to go ahead and let the room continue to fill up. What's going on, sis? I see you out there. Black CFP 2 Law. Been a long time, brother. Hope things are going well with you. Bogums, thank you guys for joining us. And as usual, let me know where it is where you're viewing our session from. I am definitely holding it down in Missouri. By the J. Yes, I checked your message. And I'm actually going to be sending you a reply very shortly after this after this live that we're having tonight. And so you guys are going to go ahead and let us know where it is that you're viewing our session from. Illinois in the house. That's awesome. Missouri in the house. ATL in the house. Who else we got in the house, y'all, tonight? All right, let's see here. And so one of the promises, what's going on, Lafayette? What's going on, man? Hey, Houston holding it down, man. Brother, hit me up, okay? All right, so I want you, we got Texas in the house. Lubbock, oh, okay, doing it over there big near Texas Tech. I love it. We got Jersey in the house. We got my girl, Nichelle, who's going to be talking to y'all tonight, holding it down. And I don't know, is she in ATL right now? Is she in Jersey right now? Is she in Louisiana right now? But nevertheless, we're going to be holding it down tonight. So as our session continues to fill up, let us know where you're viewing our session from. What's going on, Miss Nichelle? Been a minute. What's going on, Miss Lawyer Loading? Let us know where you're viewing our session from. Sean, what's going on, brother? How are things going, fam? So as the room continues to fill us up, let us know where it is where you're viewing our session from. And I know one of the things that I always try to tell people is that I want to make sure that you come away from this session fed. That means that what I mean by that, you guys, is that wherever you are in the process, you guys, what's going on? Miss Niecy from ATL holding it down. Niecy holding it down in Houston. Track One Love, thank you for joining us, sister. And so, okay, let's see. We got NY, of course, always rolling hard, rolling deep. Sean Swinton doing it big in South Carolina. Morehouse, brother. Hit me up, brother. Let me know what's going on with you. And so, nevertheless, wherever you are in our session, I want to make sure and always tell you guys this, is that if, in fact, you have a question that may not be something that's addressed tonight, I want to make sure that you are the one shoot me a DM to get that answer, or fill our chat box up with questions, because one of the promises that I make to you guys is I want to make sure no matter where you are in your process, that you're going to get your questions answered. Because I want you to make sure that you come away fed saying, I got what I needed tonight, all right? All right, so we see Track One Love holding it down from Wisconsin. Yes, that's awesome. Fabian, that stylist, thank you for joining us, my brother. And so, again, tonight, what we're going to be doing is we're going to have the luxury or pleasure of having, check this out, y'all. This sister is a doctor in the making, Columbia bound. In addition to that, she's also Spelmanite. Also, she went to law school. Also, she's barred and ready. And also, she's now also doing some great things at Morris Brown as a professor. And so I wanted to go ahead. She is the future, you guys. And so I wanted to get her on. I sent her a message randomly after she did some great article work and posted it on Twitter. And I was like, I had to find a way to get this sister on. And so I wanted to get her on to share her story, and also for you guys to come away and learn something. You guys, we talk about diversity, but sis is going to put us on game of what I call neurodiversity. All right. Do you know what neurodiversity is? I want you to put a hand up in the chat, because you know what, man, I ain't know what it is. And I swear, for God, I think I'm smart. And so we're going to get our sister on Nichelle to go ahead and join the tribe and also drop some knowledge. And of course, y'all not going to be shy, because y'all got to make sure this is a session you guys come away fed, because everywhere you want to go, Nichelle has already been there and back. And her journey, of course, has not been a perfect journey. But you know what, though, you guys? I think because the trials that we go through in life is supposed to help us learn how to pay it forward. I hate that phrase, but so we can help other people successfully navigate this space. What's going on, C-Bean? What's going on, sis? And so, without further ado, of course, I'm giving you your flowers. What's going on, Miss Nichelle?
What's up? It's a pleasure to be here, Morehouse, bro. I'm honored. It's a long time coming.
Hey, man. Hey, you guys don't understand, man. Like, I looked at my messages and I was like, the last message I sent when I tried to holler at her was like 42 weeks ago. And I was like, you know what, man? Let me try to holler at my girl again to see what's good. And so we was able to connect. We were playing phone tag for a minute, but it's a blessing. She has a great heart. She has a great story. And I really think a lot of people oftentimes in our community, we oftentimes have these labels. Me and you talked about it this morning, talking about labels, and oftentimes how we see these labels as things that are very stigmatizing and they get weaponized. And because of that, we kind of treat them like dodgeballs. We try to avoid them. And in the process of avoiding them, we also cause harm to ourselves because we're not getting access to the resources that we need. And of course, you know, for me and you, that's what happened. We went to law school. We're like, hold up, what's up? And so I want to give you the floor to, of course, share a little bit of your story. You know, I talk a lot, so I'm going to shut up so you can talk.
Oh, no, absolutely. Like, I mean, do your thing. This is your platform, and it's a beautiful one. I mean, I love the authenticity and just how you get in there in the trenches and help people out, because that's what we need. So thank you for all you do, first of all. And, yeah, so my name is Nichelle. You gave me an introduction already, but I would like to say that it's just an honor and a blessing to have a story. And I wouldn't trade any of it. I'm going to get into the story in a little bit, but I wouldn't trade any of it because it shaped my journey. And I often say that everything I hated about myself turned into everything I love about my calling. And so I was diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 34. I had already completed law school, already completed graduate school twice, actually, in education. And I did it because I thought something was wrong with my brain. And so I'm going to rewind a little bit. I started Spelman back in 2005 as an engineering major. I thought I was going to do biomedical engineering. Both my grandmothers died with cancer, so I was like, yeah, I'm going to figure out a less invasive way to address that issue. And I was valedictorian in my high school class. I'm like, I'm killing the game. I'm smart. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do my thing. Katrina hit 2 weeks after I got to Atlanta, and all my family members were in Louisiana, so I was devastated, couldn't get in touch with anybody, 18-year-old, first time away from home, outside of summer camp, so I was freaking out. Went home for a little bit, came back, sat in that calculus class, didn't know a thing, man. Got my first and last ever F on my transcript, and I was like, man, I need to know what my calling is because this ain't it. But anyway, I was just crying, and one night I cried. First, I cried out to God. I'm like, Lord, I don't want to go home without a degree. What am I gonna do? I was on scholarship, so I was freaking out. A Spelman scholarship is hard to come by, so you got to keep them when you get them. So I was like, Lord, I need your help. And I called my mother. It was about 3 a.m. in the morning. If you ever been on Spelman's campus, I was walking the Oval, just crying, praying, talking to my mom. And then I said, how do you know what your calling is? And she asked me what made me angry about the world.
That's a good question.
Told her inadequate access to opportunity and education because I was valedictorian of my small town class, Kentwood, Louisiana. So about 20 minutes outside of Macomb, Mississippi. I know you had someone on from Macomb not long ago, but yeah, I answered her question and I pondered it for a minute, and then she said, if you are successful at solving whatever that thing is, that frustrates you about the world, then you have your claim to fame, you made it, you got something to be passionate about every day. And if you're not successful, then you still wake up fulfilled because you're working towards something that actually, that you actually care about. And so she said that passion inside of you, that thing that infuriates you about society, that's not by accident. That's something that God put inside of you to stir you up to solve the problem. Like, that's your calling. And so I thought about it and I said, wait a minute, let me figure out how to make this happen. Because if I'm in calling, if I'm in God's will for my life, then I know no matter what happens, I'm gonna make it. I don't know what I'm doing over here. Clearly that calc class taught me a little something about what wasn't my calling. And I got into this, and I'm not gonna say it was easy, but I can say I was graced for it. Because I encountered challenges when I changed my major. I said, I'm going to law school. Some friends started calling me Thurgood Bethune because I didn't know whether I was going to see my way to change or teach my way to it. And I said, you know what? It doesn't even matter. As long as I solve this problem and really stay rooted in the passion, that thing that infuriates me, that thing that frustrates me about the world, then I know that I'm chasing calling. I'm chasing that thing that God put inside of me. So, I was like, I don't care. I'll be teaching, lawyer. I just got to fix it. And so.
and for those who just joined, we going live. We got this sister Nichelle Cook. Yo, she's the future. Seriously, she's dropping bombs, and I want to make sure that you guys, because a lot of times one of the narratives that we hear is, okay, hold on. So you mean you got an F, and somehow you made it to law school, and somehow you passed the bar? Because there's a lot of people out there, sis. I mean, let's be honest. When we go to college, we're trying to find ourselves. What I call people say, we really don't know anything about ourselves. Maybe until our junior, if we're lucky, junior year. But a lot of people out there, they fallen victim in that process. And I just want to clarify. So you telling me, sis, that you could get an F and still get to law school?
Yes, you can. But the
do that.
Let me tell you
how that happened.
Let me put you on game. So what had happened was I got the F in a calculus class freshman year, and I was like, well, what do I do? It put me on scholarship probation. And so I went to the scholarship lady, and she asked me had I ever been to a tutor. I was thinking to myself, I was a little cocky. I had a 4.0 in high school. I was like, I don't need tutoring. I work hard. I'm in Douglas studying with my Morehouse fam. I'm in the science lab. I'm doing all the things right. But for whatever reason, under timed conditions, I kept messing up. And I found out why later on. But for whatever reason, I just kept freaking out in test taking conditions. And then also calculus, we didn't have any of that stuff. I mean, no AP, none of that. I came from a really small school. We barely had the requirements. But what we did have were really, really solid teachers that loved us and that gave us a foundation. So I'm grateful for that. But we didn't have a lot of course offerings. So I had never seen a lot of the things that I was introduced to at Spelman. And some of my counterparts had. So missing that time, going back home, to see my family during Katrina, I came back. If you miss, you miss a week of calculus, you lost. Like it's like a foreign language or something. So anyway, I when the scholarship lady asked me how to go on a tutoring, I'm like, nah, because I was embarrassed. I'm not supposed to need that if I do what I'm supposed to do.
You see my record in high school? I mean, come on.
Man, that's not for me. But the thing is, it wasn't really even an arrogance thing. It was if that's for people who don't do what they're supposed to do. That's what I thought. But what I found out were the ones who had the good grades went to tutoring. The ones who had the good grades got extra help from professors. They went to office hours. They did all those things. They didn't just shut off and study like I was doing. And so when she asked me that, it really changed things. I signed up to go to the writing lab. I started utilizing every single resource that Spelman had to offer, and just asking questions, and not being embarrassed, because I was like, no, I'm not losing this money. I'm gonna get myself together. Okay, what advice would you have? So I'm definitely gonna get to that one. Thank you for your question. This, yeah, that's a good one. I definitely want to address that really soon. But with the whole situation at Spelman, it changed how I thought about school. I didn't At first I thought, and when I was going through it and leading up to the F, I started off in the front of the class student, and I started sitting in the middle. Before I knew it, I was in the back, and I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't me. That they do that. I'm not a back of the class student. Like, what is happening to me? And my morale fell. But when I changed my major to political science and started really studying the policies behind how a lot of these things come to be, then, I had that fire that my mama was talking about, and it motivated me to go out and ask for help and not be embarrassed. So that was a game changer. So went on, graduated, went to law school. Then second year of law school, second summer of law school, my mother was diagnosed with lung cancer. And I was like, wow, yeah, what do I do now? I fought to get here. I thought she was going to die. So here I am, 3 a year, trying to get her lung surgery. Couldn't find anybody that wanted to do it because they said that the tumor was too close to her vocal cord. So I was just freaking out. It was growing. And so I said, well, what am I going to do? And I was going from studying to my mother's hospital room to studying some more to back to the hospital, and she's been moved different places. But I was just like, no, I'm finishing, because if my mother dies, she's gonna see me graduate. Right. And so she was scheduled. We finally found somebody to do the surgery. She was scheduled to have the surgery done, I want to say a week before I graduated, but she pushed it out to 2 weeks after graduation. And so she did that because she didn't know if she was going to make it, and she wanted to make sure that she could see me across the stage. And so I maxed out on my course load, and I graduated by the grace of God. Went to every tutoring session I could. And then I also, one of the things, and mind you, I did not know I had ADHD at this time. I just knew I had some quirks. But I was able to, because of my mother's situation, get my exams spaced out, as opposed to having them all like back to back, so that I had time to kind of breathe and pace myself. And so that was an accommodation that I got because of, personal circumstances. So it doesn't hurt to ask. So if you're dealing with something at home, find out who you should talk to and ask them, or if there are any reasonable accommodations that you can have, whether you have a learning disorder or not. Because you'd be surprised at the supports that the schools have for students. So anyway, graduated. And my mother had her surgery successfully, thankfully. She's still cancer-free 10 years later. So, yes, I'm really excited about that. So she got to see me graduate. And I failed the bar exam. And I was freaking out. I mean, I failed for obvious reasons. I was studying at my mother's bedside. But failed the bar. I was like, I need a job. But I just failed the bar exam. Everything's going wrong. How am I going to work? Nobody will hire me because my GPA in law school left a lot to be desired. So I created a job. I went to my law school dean and I was like, y'all need enrollment. I need a job. I noticed you don't have a research assistant. There are no healthcare law programs in Louisiana, and we're building all of these healthcare facilities. Like, we have to outsource healthcare law attorneys. Attorneys are they gonna have to learn on the fly. Why are there no healthcare law programs in Louisiana? And she said, I'm gonna assign you the task of writing a white paper outlining what you believe is possible given the courses that we have and, just what's needed. And I'll present it to the faculty council. And if they like it, then we could potentially launch a program, a certificate. I didn't know jack about writing white papers. So I went and bought white papers for dummies on Amazon, read it, wrote the white paper, and gave me a job. I think it was like $23 an hour. And I was like, I'll take it, because my mom was in the hospital. So I'm trying to study for the bar and write that. I did it successfully. They launched the first certificate in healthcare law to accompany the JD at Loyola. It was the first school in Louisiana to do it. After that, they went ahead and expanded that program to include an LLM as well as a master's for non-lawyers in healthcare law. So now they have a very robust healthcare law program. Just because I was desperate and needed a job. And so I'm grateful to God for that opportunity. And then after that, my dean was so impressed with that work that she she personally called a law firm and gave me an opportunity there. So I was able to be employed, but then I fell apart again. And I was like, well, maybe the third good part of my dream ain't really working out, but I'm still going to fix education and figure out what's wrong with my brain. And so I said, let me try out the Bethune thing. And I realized working full time and studying for the bar just wasn't for me, but I was broke, so I was like, well, who's going to pay for it? And my dad helped me out a lot, but he paid for a lot of my law school. So I wanted to be independent, do some things for myself. So I decided that I was going to focus on the Bethune. So I went to Xavier and I was like, I want to enroll here in ed leadership so I could figure out the policy part of education and all of that and combine it with my legal background. Again, just still trying to do what my mama told me to do. I was like, well, this is what the problem I'm trying to solve. So I went to Xavier and I was like, wait a minute, I need to be a teacher because they get summers off. And so I could study for the bar and still get a check. So let me figure out how I'm going to do that. So after I left the law firm, I was doing Social Security disability stuff. So I left that, transitioning into education. But I'm glad I had that Social Security experience and the healthcare law experience because it came in handy with the work that I do now. But anyway, went into education, taught in New Orleans public schools for a little bit. Got a chance.
No, I did that before. That.
Yeah, it's quite a journey. I love New Orleans, but shout out to McMahon, must say, and Kennedy. Those are the two high schools that I taught at. But yeah, so did that. It was rewarding, but challenging. It was overwhelmed because of a lot of the disparities, and I was staring at the problem I wanted to solve firsthand. And so it introduced to me the world of IEPs and just kind of how it goes down from the teacher standpoint, teachers being inundated with paperwork, all that stuff. I'm like, wait a minute, how do we fix this? And actually give teachers a space where they actually want to teach, because turnover was a big problem as well. So it just opened my eyes to so many things. I took so many classes in my program around mild to moderate behavioral and intellectual disorders. They were like, you might as well just go ahead and get the other masters. And so I did. And so I ended up with 2 masters from Xavier University, New Orleans. One in ed leadership that I finished with a 4.0, and the second one in curriculum and instruction with an emphasis in the disorders. And I finished that one with a 3.9. So I was like, wait a minute, my law school GPA left a lot to be desired. We ain't even gonna tell you the GPA there. Just know I graduated. Uh, but in grad school, I was killing the game. So I'm like, wait a minute. I know, your girl ain't dumb. I can do a little something. So why is it that the GPAs are so different? And I realized that law school, it was one exam per class, and it was all timed. Whereas grad school was all papers with the deadlines. And so that's why I was able to thrive. But I was like, you know what? I'm tired of being in. I view it as intellectual gaslighting, because every time I tell people, like, I'm stressed, I'm unorganized, I can't get my thoughts together. Some days my brain works, some days it says, Like, I mean, just, I couldn't explain my brain. And I always look at it like a car manual. Some days, like, the manual didn't fit my brain. Right. So this is how it's supposed to work, but mine doesn't work like that. You press this button, that nothing happens. And so I didn't understand it. And some days I can do things and put thoughts together in a way that other people can't. So I'm too gifted to be smart and too smart. Too gifted to be dumb and too dumb to be gifted in my mind. This is what I was thinking about myself. I would never call somebody else that, but it's the negative self-talking that I was internalizing. And so anyway, the bar again. I think we on like bar failure number 3rd or 4th. I ended up failing it 6 times, spoiler alert. But anyway, I passed on the 7th. So yeah, I got, if you see this Talon twine, it's got a number 7 on it. I bought that for myself after I passed, as a reminder of God's number of completion. But anyway, I kept failing the bar, but I was killing the game in education, trying to figure this thing out. And I ended up getting depressed. And I dealt with suicidal ideation, a lot of other things, just because I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And so I decided I was going to go to Columbia and figure out what was wrong with my brain, because obviously nobody else could. I kept going to the doctor. And then I failed the bar. After that 6th time, a friend of mine was like, you gonna take it again. We doing this. I was like, we ain't doing nothing. I'm the one that's got to do it. But he was in residency, so he was like, nah, you in this, you gonna do it. That's why it's good to surround yourself with people who are actually on their A game and people who can actually speak life into you. Because I had so many people that were telling me, oh, maybe that's not God's will for you. But when you know God called you to it, he'll bring you through it. So you have to surround yourself with people who see you where you're trying to go, because they're going to push you there. So anyway, he was like, you got to do it one more time. And I was like, he said, it's going to be 7. That's completion. God, I feel like it's your time. This is it. I said, no, it's not. It's going to be 7 whenever I do it. I'm tired. We in the middle of a pandemic. I'm not doing this. And he was like, you're going to forfeit destiny. And something about that just hit me. And I said, nah, I'm going to do it. But I got to get a full psyche eval. Mind you, I had already been accepted into Columbia. But I had been denied accommodations when I applied for them after I submitted all of this stuff and found out I had ADHD when I did the psyche eval. I know I'm jumping, but blame it on the ADHD. But anyway, so I had already been admitted to Columbia, and they turned down my accommodations request because they said I didn't have a history of accommodations. I never needed them, and they didn't understand how all of a sudden I had ADHD. I was like, no, I've been had the symptoms. It's just when you're a black kid from the country, ain't nobody trying to give you that label. So I had to go back and try to find the medical information from they diagnosed me with anxiety and depression when I was younger, so I had that track record medically. So I had to make the case for no pun intended, but make the case for myself. But I didn't want to. I said, that's it. They denied me. I quit. I ain't doing it. And he said, wait a minute. Isn't that what you planned on doing when you got out? And so if you can't do it for yourself, then maybe the problem ain't the bar, it's you. Because if you ain't sharp enough, you're not going to be sharp enough to do it for the kids. And that struck me. I said, nah, I'm sharp enough to do whatever I want. So I started feeling myself. I was like, I'm gonna do this. God, give me strength. I'm gonna do it. Um, and so I did. I made my case. It took 4 hours going back and forth with the psychologist that made the decision. And so I told her, I said, wait a minute. So I can't backdate accommodations because clearly I didn't get them in law school. But can I forward date them? Because I submitted the same paperwork to Columbia that I submitted to y'all, and they granted my accommodations based on my psych diagnosis. And they said yes. So I used the paperwork from Columbia, and then they approved my accommodations, and I passed with no problem, with just a little bit more time. And, of course, going to therapy and being treated for ADHD. And I realized after that that the problem with my bar situation was never that I didn't know the information, but just that I couldn't finish the test. I'd only finished 60 to 70% of the exam. And so point-wise, the fact that I came so close with only finishing a portion of the exam showed that I had the competency to pass. And the first time I actually finished the test, one of the times I had a panic attack and just walk out. But the time that I actually finished it, I passed. And so that's my story and, how I got to where I'm at.
The thing that's amazing about your story, sis, in the show, you got people saying, I mean, you over here taking people to church. It's Wednesday. We ain't in Bible study, but we take them to church anyway.
Oh,
But
man.
the thing that's amazing about your story, because, a lot of times I tell people, like, we kind of romanticize this whole lawyer journey, right? We think it's supposed to be like smooth sailing. And that phrase that you said, right, like, well, you know what? It's getting kind of harder. That's God trying to tell you to do something else. Now,
Yeah,
we all
no.
heard that phrase. I'm sure people on the live, people in the tribe, y'all done heard that stuff before. But really what is it saying is you just got to learn how to pivot. And I saw some amazing posts that was amazing. It was said, they said the reason why you get challenged in life is because God wants to see if you really want it. If you really want the things that you say you want for your life. And I
Oh,
thought
yeah.
that was something that was powerful. And
It was
I
good.
think, like, for example, it's like, one of the things that I really want to get into your research, and I think you guys, we as a community, oftentimes, it's the stigmatism that's attached to psych evaluations. We're very, very scared about those. And, me and you talked about, our own background with that growing up with our parents saying, oh, hell no, y'all ain't about to put my kid in this.
Oh,
But
no.
I to law school applicants out there, or even to lawyers or law students out there who may be experiencing some of the troubles that, let's be a buck, for most of our lives, we white knuckled it and was able to get through. And maybe sometimes that was a bad thing because we weren't able to address some things that could have made our journey just a little bit better. What would you say to people out there who are trying to decide, do I get tested? Where do I get tested? And what is something wrong with me? Because I think that's a lot of what people are, because we place a lot of value in our LSAT scores. Unfortunately, we do. And a lot of people are really trying to figure out, they're beating themselves up. And I just want to give you the platform to use some of your research to tell people, the benefit of this test and how it can help you, because it was, like you said, it wasn't anything to do with intelligence. It was about you just being able to have access to the resources you need to perform.
I mean, therapy, managing my anxiety was one thing. A lot of people frown on needing medication, but I actually did, just to help me deal with a lot of the chemical imbalances. And that's a lot of the work that I've done at Columbia around neurotransmitters and how they work. So not going to dive into that part, but I will say that the same thing I told you, a diagnosis without treatment ain't nothing but a label. And I heard that a while back, but a diagnosis with treatment can change your life. And so a lot of times in our community, we get the diagnosis, but we don't get the treatment. We don't get the accommodations. All we have is that label. And that label without the support, obviously, does not serve us at all. And so a lot of our family members, our parents, have seen how that plays out when you get that diagnosis, but you don't get support. And and they don't want that for us. And so I think that the discouragement is a labor of love. They're like, you're not gonna put that label on my child and then stop them from getting the access to achievement that like when I was telling you about it, I was like, man, had I gotten the diagnosis in my small town as a kid, like she got ADHD. First of all, I have inattentive ADHD. There's 3 types of ADHD. We're gonna have to talk about that another day. But I don't have hyperactive ADHD. And so and in little girls, oftentimes it looks different, and so they miss it. But when you have that situation, you don't you don't want to put your child in a predicament where they're going to be looked down on.
Right.
But there is a term, twice exceptionality, that I want to raise, and that means that you can be gifted and have a disorder at the same time. And that's something that a lot of people don't know, and a lot of scholars don't even really fully wrap their brain around. And so just because, well, I used to think that if I'm gifted, there can't possibly be anything wrong. But if there's something wrong, I can't possibly be smart. And so this idea that both can exist and that accommodations aren't meant to water down material, they're meant to support you so that you can optimize your intellect and showcase what you know. And so it's not accommodations done right don't give you the upper hand, they give you an even playing field. And so this idea that if you utilize accommodations, you're going to be cheating somebody or you're going to get the upper hand over somebody, that's not what happens if you truly need them. And so I would encourage anybody to not only find out if you need them, but advocate for yourself once you get them. And so you don't just get the IEP. If you get the IEP and you find out that you are entitled to certain things that you're not getting, fight for it. Advocate for it. Find you somebody who can support you in advocating for yourself to get those things, because they're not giving you the upper hand. They're not doing you a favor. What they're doing is giving you the tools you need. Just like if you had something that you need. We wouldn't fight you if you needed crutches because you broke your toe or something. It's something you need. It doesn't help you run. It helps you walk. It's not conferring you an extra benefit. And you need mobility. And so in order to get that mobility, we'd rather be sliding around, because crutches will make us look like we're getting the benefit, and that's the lie they tell. But in other ethnicities and other privilege levels, they utilize all their accommodations, and because they don't have to worry about the label, because they have, as I said before, they have the diagnosis and they get the support. And so they've never framed the diagnosis the way we have, because it doesn't play out like that in their world. And so they don't have the negative stigma attached, and we have a lot of work to do in that area. But in terms of accommodations, I would say definitely try to get screened if you think that something may be wrong. If you have trouble concentrating, whatever it is, definitely go to a licensed professional. Don't try to self-diagnose. Get the battery of tests if you can. And actually, if you don't feel comfortable with that person, get a second opinion or a third opinion. Do what you need to do to advocate for you. And even if you don't have a disorder, go to therapy. Everybody needs therapy. Therapists need therapists, in my opinion. But yeah, definitely do what you need to do for you, because this isn't just about you. It's about all the people that you were called to touch, and it's about addressing that thing, as my mom said, that makes you angry about the world, because you didn't put that in you, God did. And so I am encouraged to keep on addressing that issue, because obviously it's not fixed. But in my work as an education administrator over at Morris Brown as a professor over there, We're doing a lot of cool things with neurodiversity and social emotional learning. We're trying to make our campus one of the first HBCUs that's completely social emotional learning friendly. We are in the process of, we just received a Home Depot grant for an innovation lounge. It's going to be completely sensory friendly, um, from the colors to everything, to ensure that even people with epilepsy, whatever they have a space where they can just come and relax with the LED lighting. They don't have to worry about being triggered. And so I'm using the work that I do at Columbia as a graduate student to inform a lot of that at Morris Brown. So it's been a beautiful journey.
See, being said, you preaching tonight, sis.
Well, to God be the glory, sis.
And
To
just one of
God.
the things I think that I want to ask a pretty simple question because I think a lot of people will help take a lot of their reservations away about the testing. Now, if I call, because we referred a lot of people to go to get testing, but I was like, dang, you know what? I gotta ask Nichelle, well, what testing specifically should I ask for?
Well, you should ask for the entire battery of tests in terms of your IQ, all of that. I can't say because as a licensed clinician, they will know exactly what test. It's the same way like if you go to your primary care physician, they order with the blood test that they need or whatever. I mean, you can make suggestions, but at the end of the day, if they want to do a blood culture or an X-ray, whatever, they decide what they need in order to give them the information that they need to make a diagnosis. And so there are some pretty common tests. I don't want to name them because I'm not a licensed practitioner and I'm stay away from that. But I will say trust your licensed provider. Don't trust Google or these pseudoscientists that are on Instagram. Go and ask for a full battery of tests so that you can get a comprehensive assessment of where you are.
I got some more questions for you, sis. All right. So this next
Right.
question I have for you is just like, when you talk about, first off, we want to make sure we break down terms
I
like,
left
for example,
my charger in my office, so I think I might need to relocate to my car.
no, I'm about
But you can
to die.
keep on talking, bro. I'm so sorry.
No, it's cool, sis. It's so cool. I know one of the things I want to ask you about is like, when we talk about the issue of neurodiversity, how that impacts, let's say, law school applicants. And what would you say, educational wise, awareness wise, some things that they have to become aware of when it comes to the topic of neurodiversity, which is a topic that's really starting to blow up?
Yeah, so neurodiversity, first of all, I think it would be helpful just to explain what that is. And so,
Right.
neurodiversity is this idea that everybody's brain works differently. And so there is no right type of brain. There's no right type of thinking. We all, our brains are diverse. I mean, so it removes, in effect, the stigma attached to just somebody being differently able as opposed to mentally disabled, because we all have the ability to think. Some of us just think differently from others. And so that's the whole idea behind neurodiversity. It's not a medical term, although it's used in medical spaces to explain certain medical terms. The word itself is actually a social term meant to disarm people from trying to attach stigmas to certain learning and intellectual and behavioral differences that people have. Um, I'm trying to make it happen, trying to get to my car so I can plug this
Now,
charger
you
up.
over
But
here
anyway,
dropping bombs over here,
we gonna make
still
it
doing,
happen
rolling down
over
the
here.
steps, holding the
I,
phone.
yeah,
You doing it. I
I
would
left
have
my
fell down the
I
steps. I
left
would have
my
fell.
charger in my office, so I got to make this happen. But anyway, yeah. So that is what neurodiversity is, and um, it's a hot topic because people have been looking for a way.
All right, so I think we may have lost her, but she'll be back in a second. But the thing is, you guys, I want you to understand the value and the comfort that it comes in regards to learning about yourself. And learning about yourself, it provides an opportunity for you to be able to refine and make changes to make you be able to operate to your optimal capacity. For a lot of Nichelle's life and also for a lot of my life, I spent a lot of times not operating at my best capacity because I was not familiar with what I needed to do to become better. And oftentimes for a lot of you guys right now, a lot of you guys are struggling with the LSAT or struggling with law school, or really just kind of struggling and trying to figure out for a large percentage of your time, you thought it was something that was wrong with you. Well, the reason why I had Nichelle on, so you guys to be able to understand the benefits of everything that's going on up here neurologically, as a way for you to be able to learn how to become more educated about this, then it allows you to be able to perform your best. I know I have a lot of people, I get a lot of DMs, you guys, some people who are nervous or reluctant about getting tested. They've heard the certain stereotypes associated with testing. But what I want to tell you, and one of the things I thought that Nichelle said that was so beautiful, is it's like, if it becomes we don't want it to just become something that's just a label. We want it to be something we're able to take an action with. And for people who were born in privilege, and for a lot of our white brothers and sisters, the first thing they do, they become empowered by getting tested, by becoming more aware of the things that are going on with themselves neurologically and also internally, and they be able to set systems up to make sure that they're able to do well. And the comfort level in regards to what Nichelle is starting to lead, even at Morris Brown, and also took the lead also doing at Columbia, is literally trying to find ways for people of color to become more empowered and learning specifically about how to be able to become more familiar with what's going on here, and not one, hide from it, or not two, mask it and say everything is okay, and instead be able to take it from a position of by gaining knowledge and awareness about what's going on up here neurologically. It's going to help you be best positioned to do well. Because just like the sister talked about, she said she failed the bar 6 times, but she didn't finish the bar but 1 time. And the only time she finished the bar, that time she passed. Because that knowledge level, not in regards to the content or the material that she had went over during the bar, but the knowledge level in regards to her awareness of what she needed to do for herself to be successful is what changed, right? And so for a lot of you guys who are struggling, it's about us being able to learn more about ourselves. All right, so Nichelle gets in the car, got the phone hooked up to the charger. We're going to get it back on. Bad Girl Moo Moo, Mr. Ron P.O.O., I want you guys to ask questions. I want you guys to be able to learn and become more comfortable with realizing by learning about where we fall short, it's also the pathway for us being able to learn how to push and move forward. You got that, Bad Girl Moo Moo? You got that, Jay Swindle? So by us learning where we are weak at or deficient at, that helps us be able to learn how to address things as opposed to, masking things. And I want us to be able to learn that your struggles that you're having is not because you're dumb. It's not because of your IQ. It's also literally it's because of your lack of familiarity with what you need to do to be successful. Nichelle was able to make those changes and everything changed. And literally she's kind of changed her whole career path to trying to find and learn and try to show you guys how to be able to make those changes yourself, so that way you can go ahead and take and pivot and take and make those moves to position that you need to take in order to be successful. All right. So I'm trying to get her to join the live. I accepted her, so we'll get her back on. So what do you guys think about this live so far? I hope it's been something that's been informative. I hope it's kind of taken away the stigmatism of us getting tested, or even the whole issue when it comes to neurodiversity. I know because I want you guys to be able to understand that the pathway forward towards your LSAT scores or towards your law school acceptance really comes down to you being able to learn more about yourself. We're going to keep on trying to get her to join. They keep saying that she is not able to join. We're going to keep on trying because we persisted in this mother, all right? It's been amazing. I know, what's going on? I ain't seen you in a minute, sis. All right, so let's go ahead and get her to join again. And so by us I hope you guys, I know a lot of people have been fortunate enough to go ahead and get tested. We gave you guys the tips on how to do that by going through vocational rehab to get free testing. Nichelle said when you go to get that testing, you want to ask for the full battery of testing to ensure that you're doing everything in your power. What's going on, sister girl? We got Bogum saying, my goodness, I'm fired up. She said, thank you so much for the sessions.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the love. I appreciate it. It's just it's a blessing to be with y'all. I know I said it a bunch of times, but it really is. And I wouldn't trade a thing about my journey for moments like this, when I get to pour back into people and let them know that they can do it. Um, and the reason why I do it is because of that thing. And my mom asked me, "What is it that you know?" I like to call it righteous rage. I can't remember who coined that term, but that's what it is. It's a frustration that I have that's linked to this system, and I want to fix it. And so that's what wakes me up in the morning. And moments like this, but for that if in that calculus course, but for failing the bar all those times, I wouldn't have applied to Columbia. But if I wouldn't have applied to Columbia, I wouldn't have had that accommodation paperwork to be able to give to the bar in order to get that. So by trying to figure out how to solve this problem, God had a way of using that desire, and that I never. Funny thing is, I applied to another school when I was trying to figure out. It's like I'm gonna do the psych thing and try to. I did it purely just to figure out what was going on with me, and then also because when I was a teacher, I saw so many students with IEPs, and I'm like, they not. I mean, Xavier's great, but they ain't teach me how to deal with this stuff in real life. Like what? Like so many different types of IEPs. Like I need to figure this out, and so that was the whole point behind Columbia. But I applied to Columbia, got in. Well, I was denied the other school that I applied to. They didn't let me in, but Columbia did afterward. So even to that, had I been accepted into the school that I thought I wanted to go to, then I would have had to forfeit my acceptance from Columbia. And so that denial positioned me to be exactly where I was supposed to be. And I share that with you to say there's so much freedom and guidance in being denied. And so by being denied that first, well, what I thought was my first choice, I was positioned to be able to accept the offer from Columbia. And so if you're getting a denial, just look at it as a redirection. For me, that's really what it was.
And
Um,
one of my students just popped on who needed to hear that, sis. You know who I'm talking to. I'm talking to you, Nikita. And so the next thing also, sis, you got to tell this story. Because listen, you guys, I want you guys to understand, ain't nothing about this journey going to be gifted to you. Really, seriously, ain't nothing about this journey easy. And me and you were chopping it up this morning. And boy, we talked about that hustler spirit that oftentimes that my New Orleans, my Louisiana folk from the boot always have. And also I see it in a lot of people also from all over. And I think it's something that I want you to be able. So tell me that story you told me about what happened with the car. See, what had happened
oh,
was.
man, nah. Well, how about you tell it? I don't want to.
All
Yeah, I
right.
was.
So, all
Yeah.
right. What I
All right.
say is this, you guys. Listen, man. In life, you're tested. Nothing about this space is going to be comfortable. Literally, everything is being tested either one to see if you want it or either challenge you to be able to grow. And so our sister here, Nichelle, like, yo, she had an interview that she's about to get ready to go to.
Oh, yeah. That situation. I was in law school. This was the first summer. So second summer I ended up. Ironically, I was working. Um, let me see what was some. No, first year I worked at Legal Aid.
Mm-hmm.
My GPA wasn't high enough to get the fancy internship, but there was this program where they paid us to do public interest work, and I wanted to do public interest work anyway, and so I ended up working at Legal Aid the first summer. Second summer, ironically, ended up working at a healthcare law firm, public interest as well, and I'm glad I happened to be at that healthcare law firm because my mama was diagnosed with cancer, and I found out literally while I was at work. But I got that job because I was trying to get to the job interview and my car broke down, and I had to walk over a mile. I was sweaty, I was tired,
Man, I got in there just drenched, heels on.
Suit
Like,
on.
man, I was, yeah, full suited and booted. I thought I was gonna be all nice and, I mean, had my makeup done. Everything was right. But by the time I got there, I looked like Homie the Clown, like makeup all everywhere. It was just bad. I have natural, well, this a wig, but I have natural hair, so it was poofy. I was just looking a mess. But the lady said, I don't even need to interview, because anybody that's got this much hustle clearly has what we need. So that's how I got the healthcare law firm job. And I am glad that I got that job because, like I said, I was working in that job when my mom was diagnosed. And so I had a little bit of insight into healthcare law. So when I got the opportunity to pitch to the dean my healthcare law certificate, I knew how to frame it. You know, at White Papers for Dummies, plus my background at the healthcare law firm, you know, it worked together. All things work together for the good. And so I was able to do that work with creating the healthcare law certificate at Loyola. But yeah, it was hustle, and I mean I had the interview information prepared. I knew exactly what I was gonna say. Didn't need any of it because of the hustle. And I mean just like now, I mean, you know, battery went down. I left my charger. Like, oh no, we doing this interview. Got to get in the car, make it happen. And I think, you know, couldn't find a job,
Man.
had to create one. And so, like, nobody's going to give you anything. That's what I found out. Like, if you don't have experience, create it. I didn't have experience creating programs. The summer before I started law school, I ended up going to a bunch of churches, and it was like, they don't use their fellowship halls during the week. And so one of the pastors allowed me to use his fellowship hall with my friends. And we got together and started a summer program. So when they asked me, I ended up car hopping at Sonic after I graduated from Spelman. Because I used that tip money to pay for, you know, Dollar Tree can make a lot happen at a summer program. I bought all the paper and stuff I could, and we did it, and it was a success. So when they asked me, have you ever planned a summer program? Yeah, I have. I have designed programs before. It was a makeshift summer camp in the fellowship hall, but I did it. And so I didn't think that preparation as a Sonic car hop, and people tease me about it. You got a Spelman degree working at Sonic? Show Liz, those tips were good, especially during, you know, with the Route 44 drinks.
Oh yeah.
But, you know, you do what you got to do. I mean, I worked as a car hop, made sure those fries were hot because I needed that money in order to fulfill my purpose. And I knew I had gotten into law school. The people who were laughing at me for having a Spelman degree and working at Sonic didn't know that, but I knew it. And so I think that when we have in our heads what we want to do it. I mean, people may laugh through the journey, but they don't see what you see. God didn't give it to them. But nobody's laughing now, and so
You over here, like my girl CB just said, you just taking us to church again. But I hope you guys see. This is why I had Nichelle on, man, because I want you guys to understand the struggle is a part of the process. The struggle is a part of your growth. Like literally, at any point in time when she was to say, you know what, man, bump this. I'm not walking this. I'm good. I'm done. She wouldn't be where she is now. And so I want you to be able to understand, you guys, when you hear Nichelle talk, realize and see your own stories in her story and realize just how she was able to come out on top, y'all. Man, God will do it. You can come out on the top too. I mean, I think that's beautiful. I mean, we talked about Sonic and with a Spelman degree and being focused, it made me think about when I was at Morehouse, graduated, and I'm over here at a gas station with a Morehouse degree trying to figure out how I'm going to go to law school. But it's not about the pit stops that you make along the way. It's about you making the choice to continue to weather the storm. Because let's just ask straight up, sis. All those people that laugh, what they doing now with their life?
um, you know what? I actually some of them I ended up tutoring their kids. Oh man, and a lot of people ask me why I did it, and I said because I honestly, like, I'm grateful for 'em. That was motivation, and it taught me how to deal with adversity. Because when people laugh at you, then you know, and you still move forward and you still keep winning, it shows you how little they actually matter. So now when I deal with people who don't mean me any good in different spaces, I know that what they think doesn't matter because I've seen it before. And so I'm grateful for them. And then also, I, they don't know any better. They didn't know any better, but life has a way. Um, I'm not perfect either. God has a way of showing me certain things through life experiences. But for them, a lot of the people who left, they came back, and then when they had kids, and their kids were being laughed at, they asked me for advice. Because one person in particular saw me in the grocery store and said, I was at the parent-teacher conference with my child, and they said, "Have you ever been bullied or been a bully?" And my initial answer was no. And then I thought about you, and I said, well, actually, yes, there was a kid that I used to bully. And she asked me, being on the other end of that, what advice would I have for her and her kid? Because now her child was being teased. And so all of that to say, sometimes God will use the people. God will use the people you hurt to bless you. And I count it as an honor to be able to bless somebody who she was a training course for some of the junk I have to deal with now. Like, people really don't. Um, it's hard to get under my skin because I really don't care. And a lot of it I don't care about because people, because I dealt with that. So, yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's not beautiful when you're going through it,
No,
but it's beautiful on the other end.
but I think what it is, it made you tougher. It made you
Oh,
more resilient. And
absolutely. And
when given an opportunity,
yeah, absolutely.
you actually chose to be the bigger person, and that's why God continues to bless you. And so, sis, I want to tell you, thank you for taking the time. I'm gonna hit you up later, and I hope you guys got Don. I hope you got something from this No More House, brother. I
Oh, thank
got
you.
from this. So I just want to tell you, thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you, Nichelle, for joining us. And I just want to send prayers and positive vibes to everybody from here, from Louisiana to ATL to all y'all. So you guys have a blessed day. And again, thank you, sister,
Well,
tonight.
I do want to say, you only lose if you give up. And I mean, I am living proof. I failed the bar 6 times, so passed it on that seventh. And I mean, had I quit on six,
Huh?
I would not be where I am today. So just keep it moving. Like, don't give up. If you know God called you to it, He'll bring you through it. And I am also a resource. So if you need help, I do want to say, when it comes to taking these tests under time conditions, always take the test under stricter time conditions than you actually need. And so practice under the most rigorous time conditions, because when you get in that situation, you need to give yourself time to be anxious or to do whatever your brain is going to do. So plan for that.
Y'all got that, T? And make sure you follow her. She got more tea for you guys. It's a resource. She's a part of the tribe, and she wants to see you guys win. Again, thank you, Nichelle. I'll be talking to you again pretty soon. And thank you guys. So you guys again next Wednesday at 8 p.m. PST. Peace and blessings.
All right.